Through the time that art has lasted, 75 styles have been developed. Pop art is one of many. It has impacted modern art heavily. According to EdenGallery.com, pop art contains very bold imagery with intense colors and a hint of irony in the artwork. The intensity of the art style directly represents the movement's roots. Pop art involves the use of mass media, commercial, and consumerist items to create artwork. What influenced the style was late 1950s and 60s commercial and popular culture of the time. This consisted of a post-war era from the United States and Soviet Union, making nuclear weapons, which became a popular pop culture reference. Common items like comic strips, soup cans, road signs, and hamburgers were used for the purpose of the art.
The famous pop artists Andy Warhol, David Hockney, Richard Hamilton, and Roy Lichtenstein were the creators of pop art. It was created in the United Kingdom in the mid-1950s and later emerged in the United States in the late 1950s.
The artist Andy Warhol was born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on August 6, 1928, and had a very successful career as a commercial illustrator. Later in his life, around the 1950s, he began to receive more and more attention as an artist. As a child, Warhol struggled a lot with his health. He suffered from a neurological disorder known as St. Vitus dance and synedchorea. He also openly lived as a gay man, which later got him almost killed by radical feminist Valerie Solanas, who shot him inside his own studio. Warhol had sadly later died of cardiac arrhythmia after his gallbladder surgery in February of 1987 in New York at the age of 58.
Father, to read all these great interpretations about your work.
Can I just answer?
Yes, you can. Back in 1962, or 61 or 62, around in then, when you and Rosenquist and Lichtenstein all were working very independently of each other.
To many people, Andy Warhol's work was more than just a sequence of fun pictures. His art had strong and powerful images and were beautifully designed, and which made many people take a look around them and realize what wasn't important in life.
Well, these comic books make things the way they are really today. I mean, the way things happen in New York now, it's like being in a Western.
The artist David Hockney was born on July 9, 1937 in Bradford, United Kingdom, and also openly lived as a gay man. Today, Hockney is still alive and well at the age of 86. He had a pretty smooth early life, and mostly all he focused on was art and school. He worked as a medical orderly in hospitals and then later graduated from Bradford School of Art in 1957 and the Royal College of Art in London, receiving the Gold Medal of Art in 1962.
David Hockney has created many paintings in his life. Here's a video showing a couple of them.
Every face is different, isn't it? Every face. I mean, we are mysterious beings, yes we are. I always think the world is full of variety, and it should be reflected in the art.
The artist Richard Hamilton was born on February 24, 1922 in London and died on September 13, 2011 at 89 years of age. Hamilton had left school without formal qualifications, discovering an aptitude for draftsmanship, which was at an electrical components firm. He had begun to paint even more before eventually enrolling at the Royal Academy Schools in 1938. Richard Hamilton is considered the main founder of pop art and contains a lot of the credit for making pop art a style.
The artist Roy Lichtenstein was born on October 27, 1993 in Manhattan, New York, and died on September 29, 1997 from pneumonia at the age of 73. At a young age, he developed a liking for drawing, jazz, and science. Lichtenstein was so eager to learn art that he even attended multiple summer classes at the Art Students League. He was taught by Reginald March, who was recognized for his social realist paintings of New York City life from 1920s to 1930s. Towards the end of his life, He attended Ohio State University, where he continued his studies with art.
While I'll also argue that abstract expressionists search for trauma to express on the canvas, pop artists search for the same trauma as abstract expressionists. Pop artists found this trauma through advertisement, cartoons, and popular imagery at large. Pop artists believe everything is internally connected, and they sought to make these connections through their artwork. By creating these sculptures of famous media, celebrities, and everyday items, the art movement of pop art made its purpose to the concept, which is that there is no hierarchy in culture and that art is a way to express themselves, that there is no way to define what a low culture is. Critics view that pop art to be basic and repetitive. This is stated by the Tate Museum website from Richard Hamilton, as pop art is viewed as popular, expandable, transient, mass-produced, young, witty, sexy, gimmicky, glamorous, as well as big business. These critics found this art to be a negative influence on art because they do not view pop art as a take on popular media. This is away from new ideas from the pop art movement. Pop art later influenced artists further by artists like Andy Warhol, who had a large influence in the New York art world into the 1980s. After it became less known during the 1970s as the art world would become more interested in installations and performances. The revival of the subject became once again with the matter of painting at the end of the 1970s and into the 1980s. Popular culture provided subject matter that was easy for viewers to understand. A more variant version of pop art, neopop, had a more similarity to pop art. The creator of this movement was Jeff Koons, whose appropriation of major pop culture idols such as Michael Jackson and mass-produced items like Hoover vacuum cleaners. Its movement later expanded its boundaries to Japan. In Japan, the artworks of Takashi Murakami have been seen to be a more recent example of neopop, from his use of popular anime imagery and his super flat style.
Takashi Murakami is a Japanese pop artist. His work is an example of how pop art has changed over the years since he created more of the recent pop art. His artwork contains large, cartoony, and cheerful creatures with small add-ins like daisies and other flowers. Murakami is also considered the founder of the Super Flash movement, which was an art movement that blended traditional Japanese aesthetics with contemporary pop art.
The pop art movement has a turning point in history, has lasted a legacy from the 1950s to the 21st century. This bright-colored art movement had a peak in the 1960s. To the artists Andy Warhol, Richard Hamilton, and Roy Lichtenstein, who had remaining repetition in the movement, and the way he used popular references to be viewed that everything is interconnected. Even as critics view this art negatively, pop art's long-lasting effects are still noted by artists worldwide as an inspiration. Pop art will remain a pivotal point in history for its long-lasting effects, inspiration, and iconic use of pop references.
In the 1950s, pop art was very popular. It distinguished a sense of optimism during the post-war consumer boom of the 1950s and 1960s. The consumer boom happened after World War II. During the wartime, production increased to pull America out of depression. It conflicted with the spread of pop music and youth culture, which coincided with Elvis Presley and the Beatles. Through new and expanding business selling televisions and automobiles, sales skyrocketed during the 1950s. Modern shows like The Goldbergs and classic shows like The Honeymooners were to be catered to working middle-class viewers with storylines about different families. Furthermore, these televisions provided further influence to give people information. Products used this new medium to advertise products in American homes.